And it came to pass in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, came down to Ahab, king of Israel. And Ahab says to Jehoshaphat, "Will you go with me to Ramoth Gilead, which belongs to us, and take it out of the hand of the king of Assyria?" And Jehoshaphat responds, "My people are as your people, and we will go to war with thee." But before they go to war, Jehoshaphat, who was a good king, says, "Inquire, I beg you, first, the word of the Lord today." Therefore Ahab gathered together 400 men and asked, "Shall I go up to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear?" And the men said, "Go up, for God will deliver it unto the king's hands." But Jehoshaphat then asked Ahab, "Is there not a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire?" A true prophet? Then Ahab answers and says, "Well, there is one man, Micah, son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord, but I hate him, for he never prophesies good to me, but always evil." "Ah, let not the king say so," Jehoshaphat responds. So Ahab calls for messengers to call Micah. The messengers try to instruct Micah to prophesy good things unto the king, like the others did. Then Micah says, "As the Lord liveth, even what my God saith, that I will speak." Micah stands before the king Ahab. The king asks, "Shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear?" Ultimately, Micah knows the will of God on this issue. So he actually begins by telling Ahab what he wants to hear, as instructed by the messengers. But Ahab responds saying, "How many times shall I adjure thee that thou say nothing but the truth to me in the name of the Lord?" Then Micah says, "Well, I did see Israel scattered upon the mountains, as sheep that have no shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return, therefore, every man to his house in peace." And Ahab says to Jehoshaphat, "See, did I not tell thee that he would not prophesy good unto me, but evil?" We read only the earthly perspective here. But what goes on in heaven, which is making the earth manifest in this way, regarding Ahab's decision? Because Micah continues and says, "I saw the Lord sitting upon his throne, and the host of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, Who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?" So it was indeed the will of God for Ahab to go to Ramoth Gilead to fall. Micah was just being honest when he prophesied, but it wasn't perceived well by Ahab. Then he still hesitated to go to Ramoth Gilead. So let's continue. "So who shall entice the king Ahab to go to Ramoth Gilead?" And one spake, one of the hosts of heaven, spake, saying, After this manner, and another, saying, After that manner. Then there came out a spirit, and stood before the Lord, and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, How? And he, the spirit, said, I will go out, and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, Thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do just that. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil against thee. Now you also know the heavenly perspective. As I'm writing this, Putin is trying to invade Ukraine. Have you considered what happened, or is being discussed, or has been discussed in heaven before Putin started a war in Ukraine? I don't know. I'm not a prophet. But God certainly knows about it and has spoken on the matter. Is it for the fall of Ukraine or the fall of Putin? 2 weeks on, it certainly looks like Putin has miscalculated. Now Ahab, being wary of what Micah the prophet said, did go to war in the end, but decided to disguise himself in battle. Now the king of Syria commanded his 32 captains to fight neither with the small or great, but only the king of Israel. So then the captains saw Jehoshaphat and said, "Surely this is the king of Israel." And they turned to fight against him. And Jehoshaphat cried out, and the Lord helped him. Now 1 Kings says, when the captains perceived that it was not the king of Israel, they turned back. 2 Chronicles says, God moved them to depart from him, depart from Jehoshaphat. So we get the more heavenly perspective from the book of Chronicles. And a certain man drew a bow at random and struck the king of Israel between the joints of his harness. "Get me out of here, for I am wounded," said Ahab. The king of Israel stayed in the chariot and died when the sun was going down. The king of Syria wanted to kill Ahab only, but Ahab was disguised as not the king. From an earthly perspective, a random guy shot an arrow randomly, which just happened to hit King Ahab. From a heavenly perspective, was it really random?
I'm prophesying right from the beginning. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to make declaration to the nations of the earth. Now hear me out. The Spirit of God says, Putin, I speak to you now. King Putin, you call yourself. Do you really believe that I raised up a king in the 80s by the name of Ronald Reagan to pull down a curtain and to destroy a wall that divided for nothing? Come on. Did you really think I did that in vain for you to stand and raise a wall and a curtain again? No, no. Putin, get out of my way. Get out of my way, says the Lord. As I harden the heart of Pharaoh for the benefit of my people, so have I hardened your heart. No, 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 no. No, 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 D. Don't play. I'm hearing a sound in my spirit. Here we go. For the benefit of my people, ecclesia, my church, my holy ones, my elect, and my land of Israel, I have hardened your heart, Mr. Putin. You see, I said I will lift my hand off Russia for a season, and I did, and look what is happening. You are unbridled, King Putin. You are unbridled now. But I want you to know what I historically did to kings who took power and abused them. Ultimately, there will be freedom for the sake of my people. Oh, troublemaker, who would stand and terrorize the world? My world, says the Lord. Therefore, I'll put my hook in your nose and my bridle in your lips, and I will turn your back by the way you came, and those who have survived and escaped will bear much fruit. Much fruit, says the Lord. That fruit shall be in Ukraine. That fruit shall be in the nations that you have encroached upon to take for your glory. I will cause a remnant to be raised up and bear much fruit for thy kingdom, says the Lord. Yeah! You hear me, everybody watching? The Spirit of the Lord came upon me this morning. He told us it would be a strange July. He told us that in the summer He would test this president. There is another one that's risen up. He calls himself King Putin. I am not against a man, and this is not my opinion. This is the word of the Lord. Now, Putin, I have sent, says the Lord, a spirit upon you that shall cause you to return to your land, away from a sovereign land, because of rumors that you hear. And I will cause you to fall by the sword in your own land, says the Lord.